Harry's Wife, part 100.25, the N word. Hello, I'm HGTudor. Harry's Wife, of course, came out with another porky pie in relation to her allegation that she didn't want to provide photographs of her children because the press had used the N-word against them. Of course, she was referring to the racial slur. This was met with fierce criticism, simply that this just would not be used by the media. And therefore, it was evident that this was another revision of history, another lie that was being told by Harry's wife that came out of the cut. But there is another N-word that is increasingly being utilised with regard to Harry's wife, and that is the word narcissist. Years ago, as a consequence, as I've mentioned, of my own interactions with Harry's wife, and of course, both private and public material that I reviewed, I formed the clear judgment that she's a narcissist, that she functioned with a sense of entitlement, that she exhibited cognitive empathy but had no emotional empathy, that her various behaviours demonstrated an absence of accountability, that she would behave with grandiosity. There were haughty behaviours. She indulged in magical thinking. She showed many aspects of manipulative behaviours, poor or an absence of boundary recognition, and repeated substantial instances of the narcissistic dynamic. Accordingly, I formed the judgment very clearly based upon an appraisal of the evidence over a period of time that she was a narcissist, and I stated as such, beginning in my series, A Very Royal Narcissist. I did a handful of those videos, and then of course came the whopper that was the Oprah Winfrey interview, which garnered more interest in relation to breaking it down and explaining what was going on. Throughout this period of time, from when Harry's wife first came on the scene as a consequence of her engagement to Prince Harry, and through all the various well-documented instances that have occurred since then, I've seen many people continue to get it wrong. They interpret her behaviours thinking that she's like them, a non-narcissist, when she's not. They seek to interpret her body language in a particular way and get it wrong because they don't do so through the prism of her narcissism. I consistently and repeatedly identified that she was a narcissist and explained how and why she behaves as she does. There are still many people that don't get it. They scratch their heads, completely bemused and puzzled at how she behaves. Surely she can see that she's tone deaf. How can she not see that she's manipulative? They don't understand that it's her narcissism, her unaware, deep-seated, entrenched narcissism that guides her actions and interactions and non-reactions when it comes to anything associated with other people. Because she provides such a prominent example, and she's never out of the news, never out of the press, and because she keeps making such brilliant examples of narcissism, it would have been remiss of me not to keep utilising her. As I have explained, she's industrial beige and rather boring, but as an example of narcissism, she's one that must be used over and over again. And because so many people are interested in her, and more people don't like her, they want to watch these videos. I've seen now, of course, more and more people recognising the narcissism that is rampant within her. Of course, others still say, I recognise that she's a narcissist, but is she just also batshit crazy? Well, some narcissists are more plausible, are more grounded in the reality that you understand. And then other narcissists are more batshit crazy. It doesn't mean that there's something else alongside their narcissism, although narcissism can be comorbid with other conditions. It simply means their style of narcissism is one whereby they come out with what are increasingly implausible observations, comments, and behaviours that really have no relationship to your reality. As I said, other narcissists are more accomplished. They sit within your reality and do things which seem to be within your reality or are within your reality, meaning they fit in far more effectively. Other narcissists often Billy bullshit, or she's the Tina Tall-Tales, and you just think to yourself, no way did that fucking happen. What a load of codswallop. Different types of narcissists, and The batshit craziness that some of you have labelled it as is just simply a manifestation of her magical thinking, delusion, and the need to assert control, draw fuel from people with coming out with these increasingly preposterous revisions of history, outright lies, and monumental whoppers. But it is important to see that more and more people are using the N-word in relation to her. They recognise that she's a narcissist, and they recognise that she operates through her narcissism. They don't necessarily fully understand what that means, but the word is being used more and more in relation to her, which demonstrates a growing awareness of what she is, if not a complete understanding of what that means. And that's why it's so important for me to continue to make these videos, so people do actually understand what her narcissism means. There are those of you who've pondered, what is this backlash doing to her? In terms of knowing that she's being repeatedly criticised because, of course, despite her statements to the contrary, she does look at social media and the press. What's making her feel? Well, I have actually explained this on a repeated basis throughout many of my videos when I explain where a certain instance occurs, a certain criticism happens, a certain faux pas occurs, and how she then deals with it. But for the sake of completion, I'll explain for you all vis-a-vis this backlash that's occurring arising out of the Cut interview. The responses provide her with fuel. That's not a problem. Those that continue to support her, those that criticise her, those that laugh at her. It's all fuel. Those that support her, it's pure positive fuel. That's not a problem, because they're showing they're under control and they're providing her with fuel. But the individuals that criticise her, say that she's insufferable, say that she's lying, say that simply doesn't make sense, saying that she's lost it, laughing at her, calling her a diva, scoffing at her behaviours, anything that's critical is challenge fuel. So she's still getting fuel which powers her, so she laps that up, but she's being challenged again and again and again. Each time somebody says something to her about this interview that's critical, every time she happens to look upon something on social media or read a newspaper piece, any time it's mentioned to her by her press officer, that causes a challenge. The narcissist deals with the threat to control, the challenge, in one of three ways. This is known as the 3 assertions of control. And if you want a detailed breakdown of this, and I recommend that you obtain it, it isn't expensive, and it's integral to understanding narcissism, please use the link in the video description for the Knowledge Vault. Go there and obtain the 3 assertions of control. The first assertion of control that could be used by Harry's wife is direct. This might mean, for instance, suing a newspaper, or contacting somebody and saying, "Why are you saying this about me?" The problem that she has here is twofold. Simply time-wise, she doesn't have the time to contact everybody that's lambasting her. There aren't enough hours in the day, and that's only going to get worse. Secondly, she's a mid-range narcissist, and therefore she's a coward. And whilst she will bully 3-year-olds and shout at staff, and of course denigrate Prince Harry behind closed doors, she hasn't got the minerals when it comes to repeatedly going into battle against people that are criticising her. Note, for instance, she's never gone head-to-head with Piers Morgan. Instead, her narcissism guided her to an alternative assertion of control. It could cause her to pick up the phone and ring a particular journalist and saying, "Now listen to me, you arsehole. Who the fuck do you think you are writing that about me? Retract it, write something better, or I'm going to legal your ass into the ground." Or words to that effect. It could, of course, be that she would contact them and turn on the waterworks. "Why? You don't understand me. Why are you misrepresenting me? This is really awful. I'm a human being, you know, with feelings, and my feelings are the facts." Of course, her narcissism doesn't allow her to do this because 1, it would take too much time, 2, she's cowardly, and ultimately 3, it doesn't necessarily gauge that it would meet with success, so it doesn't take her down the route of a direct assertion of control. Instead, it leads her to either assert control indirectly, so she turns to Harry and says, "Look at all of this. Why are they being so cruel? Pity play." He gives her a hug. "Don't worry, my love," rubs her back, tells her that to ignore them. Therefore, he shows he's under control, he gives her fuel, and it allows her the unconscious sensation of control over the various tabloids, broadsheets, broadcast news, etc. that have been lambasting her. Alternatively, She might go on the offensive, decrying these haters and misogynists and racists, and a member of the coterie agrees, tugging their forelock. Yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, 3 bags full, ma'am. Agreeing with her that she's entirely right in her criticisms about these publications. The consequence of which is that she again knows that person listening to her is under control. She gains some fuel from them as a non-intimate secondary source, but also she again gains that unconscious sense of control indirectly over the broadsheets, tabloids, and broadcast news. If she isn't able to triangulate and smear, then her narcissism just essentially causes her to feel indignant about it, and she dismisses it. I don't give a damn what they think. They're just envious of me. I'm a strong, independent feminist, and they can't stand the fact that I, as a biracial woman of authentic organicness, have succeeded. They can go fuck themselves. And essentially, her narcissism compels her to be haughty and arrogant and dismiss the criticisms, and she moves on to the next thing. She basically asserts control by staying in withdrawal, not engaging with her critics, either directly or indirectly, and she then just dismisses it. How is this all making her feel? Well, as I'd explained in a video in relation to the Tom Bauer book, her narcissism, in order to compel her to get that fuel and, most importantly, gain that control, will sometimes make her feel wretched, that she's put upon, make her feel sorry for herself, so she performs the pity play to garner sympathy from others. In other instances, it will ignite her fury, causing her to shout and scream about the cruelty and the unfairness of all of this to prompt reactions from other people to support her. She does not sit on her own and think, I deserve this, haven't I? My behaviour is such, and I've been telling outs and out whoppers. It's no wonder now that they're turning against me. Shit, I better try and repair the damage. Her narcissism doesn't work that way. It doesn't allow her to self-reflect. It doesn't allow her to be accountable. It doesn't allow her to recognise that she is at fault. Instead, it's always everybody else's fault. She has done nothing wrong. People don't understand her. People are haters, racists, misogynists. They're envious. And her narcissism will make her feel a variety of different emotions to motivate her to either seek out pity plays or to smear or to lambast and criticise indirectly, or to be in high dudgeon about the way that she's being treated. That is the response that she has. Where she sees the N-word being used in relation to her, she will not, of course, go, that could be right. I am a narcissist, aren't I? Nor does she sit there cackling to herself, going, ha ha ha, those silly little fools, they've eventually happened upon what I am, not that I care. No, her narcissism will reject it. She simply cannot see what she is. I'm HGTudor. Thank you for listening.